Hey guys, thanks for tuning into this week's video, and I want to talk about the core conditions, which is something as a counselling trainee we learn is very important when working with clients, is this idea that we are able to offer clients the core conditions, and I'll go into those in a minute. So this comes from the type of counselling and therapy, person-centred counselling, which was founded by Carl Rogers. And the idea of the core conditions in person-centred counselling is that there are 3 core conditions, and how they work is they are 3 things that we offer to the client that set this environment which is conducive to growth and to trust and to creating a really strong relationship and safe space to explore things. And the core conditions don't just apply in the counselling room. Once you know about the core conditions, you can then apply them in everything in your whole life that you have around relationships with people. So that could be in your marriage, in your friendships, in family dynamics, and in work dynamics, and just like anything that you can think of. So let's go into the core conditions and what they are. So core condition 1 is, I don't know if there's like an order you're supposed to do them in, but I'll just go with the order I'm doing, which is number 1 is empathy. So empathy is a term you may or may not have heard of before, but it's the idea that we are able as human beings to put ourselves in the shoes of another human being, step into their world and really navigate around and imagine what it's like to be them. So we're not doing it from a place of how would I feel if I was in their situation. It's like it's deeper than that. It's different. We're actually imagining what it must feel like for them. So for example, I'm just going to think of an example off the top of my head. If I had lost a parent and a friend of mine had lost a parent, the experience of losing a parent is something that we have in common, but their experience of that situation may have been completely different to mine. So depending on their relationship with that parent, the circumstances in which they lost that parent, their kind of personality and their emotions and their triggers and all of those different things that are at play could mean that if I was to just connect with them from my own reference of what it was like to lose a parent, I'm really not going to be able to offer them the empathy, which is me putting aside my experience and really listening in and tuning into their emotions and what was going on for them in their past and really being able to understand that. So that's how empathy works, and it's different to sympathy, because sympathy's like, I feel sorry for you and I'm coming from my own frame of reference. Empathy is that I'm not feeling sorry for you, I'm experiencing that and stepping into that with you. So it's a little bit different. And empathy is so incredible. It's just, to me, people talk about being an intuitive empath or being a natural empath. And I do feel like I'm naturally very empathic, which is probably why I'm training to be a counsellor. But then equally, you don't have to be a natural to cultivate empathy. So if you find it something difficult or you didn't have a model for it when you were younger, it doesn't mean that you can't become more empathic. And I think that in this world we live in now, where everything is so polarised, and if we don't agree with someone or someone does something bad, they are then outcast or we cut them off, then that's really where I feel like empathy isn't at play and empathy isn't happening and could happen a lot more, which we'll go into in a little bit. So that's empathy, and having empathy with someone, as I say, looks like being able to connect with them on a level of how they experience things, stepping into their world, listening, moving through with them and really getting a sense of how they feel and just being alongside them. You don't have to offer them sympathy or say, oh, I feel so sorry for you. Just that act of being there with them through that experience can be really, really powerful. And I think, as I say, this can also, permeate out from the counselling situation into our relationships. So if someone's going through something difficult or someone's sharing a view that you don't agree with, being able to try and understand, like, oh, somebody I know voted for Donald Trump, or someone I know voted to to leave and is a big Brexiteer, rather than just getting angry, like having like empathy and understanding and just taking the time to think, well, where's that coming from? Why did you make that decision? What's kind of behind that? What's driving that? And only offering people more empathy can be hugely helpful in healing a lot of the world's wounds. I feel it can be just incredibly powerful, and it's something that we can really, in this world where we feel often powerless in the situation at the moment, you can often feel like a lot of things are out of your control. Empathy is something that you can cultivate and you can put out into the world, and it can give back so much and change lives. So just think about that. Think about empathy. That's core condition 1. Core condition 2 is UPR, unconditional positive regard. So whatever someone has done, whatever someone has experienced, however someone is behaving, you are there in a space of being able to offer them unconditional positive regard, which basically means you are able to see past what they've done, see past their behaviour in that moment, and you are able to treat them as a human being that is good, is fundamentally good, and is there to be accepted no matter what has happened. Now, this one may be easier in the counselling room if you don't have a personal relationship with that individual, but giving people UPR in life, people we know, husbands, wives, kids, mums, dads, work colleagues, it's very challenging at times. And especially if someone has hurt you or you've got a real strong connection with someone around something and you're personally involved, it can be very difficult to offer people unconditional positive regard. However, it's a good thing to have in mind. If someone has, just the example that comes to me off the top of my head is if someone has cheated on you, if you're in a relationship, someone has cheated on you, someone's betrayed you, then trying to get past that point of just pure anger and hatred towards that person for what they've done, which is, can be totally valid and justified. I'm not saying not to have those things, but just to think that at some point can we come to a place where we can accept that people make mistakes, we can be curious about finding out how that situation came about, how we might be able to move forward from it. And I think all of those sorts of approaches come under unconditional positive regard. So it's a challenge, I'm not going to lie, but that is number 2. As I say, often easier if you've got a distance from the person that you're connecting with, but equally it can be something we strive for in our personal relationships. And core condition number 3 is congruence. Like everyone in my course is always like, congruence, that's a weird word, who goes around saying, oh, I'm a congruent person. But congruence is core condition number 3. And congruence basically is just being upfront, being honest, being comfortable in yourself, bringing yourself to the table. So like if you were counselling someone and you were in a counsellor-client relationship, it's not going to work if you're coming from this kind of other place of, I'm a counsellor and this is how counsellors behave and I am going to be this robot counsellor. That person is not they're going to sense that, their spidey senses are going to be up, they're going to know that you're not being genuine, that you're not being authentic. So you can follow a framework, which is really important, but being congruent is basically meaning, bring yourself into that room, be authentic. If you want to have a real connection with somebody and you want them to be authentic with you back, then you're really going to have to bring that to the plate and bring that to the table. So that's what congruence is about. And this is massively important as well in everyday life, as much as possible to be congruent, because I think a lot of unrest and upset and hurt and pain comes from where we're out in the world and we put out one thing like, I am this like go-getter, or I am the happy smiley one, or I'm the one that's always getting drunk and is the party animal. And if then that's what we put out to the world, and then we go home and we're actually like really upset, we're really in pain, or we're really angry about something, and we're totally different, like the person we are when we're at home on our own is totally different to the person that we put out to the world. We're not being congruent, and people pick up on that stuff, and it can be really scary to bring your whole self out into the world. Like, I had a friend, and this has always stuck with me, like he would talk about getting into new relationships, and it was so sweet the way he described it, because he would say, like, when I'm with you I can be like 100% cocoa, like talking about chocolate as the analogy. I can be 100% cocoa when I'm with you guys, and when I'm with like a new girl, it's like I can only be like 50% cocoa because I'm afraid of like giving her my full dark chocolatiness. And that always made me giggle because it was quite funny. And it's that feeling of, you don't have to give someone 100% cocoa Ruth or 100% cocoa you, but you want to get as close to that as possible. And that, I think that's what being congruent's about. It's not about having to show everyone everything, but you've got to be authentic. You can't be putting on a mask and pretending to be somebody else if you want to feel fulfilled and you want to feel grounded and good in yourself, and be able to offer that space to other people to do that. So be authentic, be yourself, be congruent. That's the word that is core condition number 3. And finally, the core conditions, as I say, used in the counselling room, put them out into the world, share them with all your friends or your family, and anyone that you come across, just have in your mind, can I offer this person the core conditions? How can I be more empathic? How can I give them more positive regard? How can I be more authentic and congruent in this situation? All, for me, have been hugely helpful. Don't get it right all the time. Still a student, still a counselling student, still a student of life, always will be. So don't beat yourself up if you're like, I cannot offer this person the core conditions. Just give it a try. Do your best. And finally, the core conditions are not just for other people. They are for you and they are for me. And if you can offer yourself the core conditions, that has just been a revelation to me. I always think about what I can give to other people, and I'm always focusing on my relationships and connections. My relationship with myself and my connection with myself are something that, like everyone, I really struggle with sometimes. Like, I can be so hard on myself. I don't know if you can do this as well, where you just like, you beat yourself up. You can be kind to other people. You can be, your best friend thinks you are so got it together, and yet you inside are just so horrible to yourself sometimes. So offer yourself the core conditions. Offer yourself empathy. Like, if you're going through something and it's really difficult, don't, if you're being hard on yourself, just have that little voice inside saying, could I be offering myself the core conditions more now? Could I have more empathy for this situation that I'm in and how I'm feeling right now? Could I be more authentic and congruent with myself and not be so unrealistic about the expectations I have on myself? And, can I have more unconditional positive regard? Yes, I did some really stupid, bad things. I've made mistakes, but that doesn't mean that I am a bad person that doesn't deserve love. So really thinking about offering those core conditions more to yourself. Maybe that's the starting point. Offer them to yourself and then see if you can offer them to others, or if it works for you, offer them to other people and then see if you can then offer them to yourself more. So this is counselling practice, which is for the real world, and I hope that it's really helped just find out a little bit more about the core conditions and how they can potentially change your life and change everyone's life that you touch, because we all touch so many lives, from the person in the checkout at the supermarket that you have an interaction with, to the person that you let out in the car in traffic, to your husband, to your kids. Just be kind. So be congruent, give unconditional positive regard, and be empathic with yourself and with others. So I hope this has helped. I really enjoyed sharing this with you. If you like the channel, please like, share and subscribe. and I will be back next Tuesday with another video to share with you guys. All right, speak to you soon. Bye.